advocate for the women in prison, and I'm going to let her explain to you who she is and why she does what she does. She has a lot of insight. She has a Facebook group that is just amazing, and I would like her to promote that as well. Kathy, how are you today?
Good, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you are here. You can start with the introduction and let them know why you do what you do and what all that you do for the incarcerated inmates.
Okay. I became an advocate really by default. My daughter has been incarcerated for almost 7 years, I believe. She's been at Lowell for 4.5 years. Before that, she was in county. So my first introduction to the criminal justice system was her trial, and I was absolutely appalled at just how broken, I guess that's the best word, how broken the criminal justice system is. She had a public defender that didn't defend her. He barely saw her. It was so discouraging, and Sadie actually chose to go to trial because she wasn't going to plead. She did some crimes, definitely, but the crime that gave her 20 years, she did not, it's hard to explain, but anyway, it was never her intent. And she thought, well, Mom, if I just get on the stand and explain everything, then everything will be okay. And what happened was she went to trial, and the judge gave her 20 years.
So the public defender, I usually try to tell people a public defender is, I actually fired my public defender and defended myself. Just because, like you said, the system is broken. The judicial system as well as the Department of Correction are equally as broken. So without you having been in there with your daughter, prior, you had no knowledge of how broken it was, right?
You're right, exactly. And she did try to fire her PD several times, and the judge wouldn't allow it. The other aspect of that is that the judge's husband had been my daughter's lawyer, I think 6 or 7 years earlier on a child custody case, and they had parted on bad terms. So my daughter wanted the judge to recuse herself, tried to get the PD she did get the PD to put in a recusal, but he didn't put it in on time, so that never happened. But
yeah, that's definitely a conflict of interest.
Definitely. So she had preconceived notions about my daughter in the very beginning, and had no, at the sentencing hearing, she just had no. She didn't even listen to, our family and the psychiatrist, and she had a drug problem, and we wanted to downward, but nope, she threw the book at her.
Yeah, she should have definitely had a conflict of interest where she could have got a different judge and a different public defender, and also a downward departure as being an addict.
Right, exactly. But those things didn't happen. So here we are today, and so then she gets put in prison, and I have no idea, what prison is like. I myself did at one point in my younger days spend 24 hours in jail, and that was pretty traumatic. So I can't even imagine, spending day after day after day after day in that kind of situation.
Right.
So when Sadie first went, we've been through all sorts of things. She was subject to guard abuse, the guards calling her names like whore and the C word, and that she was worthless, and just, I'm sure everybody has heard all about that. And then, and I guess for new inmates, that's what they do. I don't know, but it just never continues. And then she got a false PREA put on her. Sadie worked canteen, and this inmate would, they would threaten her and say, if you don't do such and such, illegal stuff or contraband stuff, then I'm going to call a PREA on you. And Sadie, she just won't ever do anything like that. And so this lady called PREA, I think, on her and like 8 other people, and she got put in confinement for 6 months. And I was trying to fight it on the other end, and as it turned out, it was a false PREA. And that was happening a lot with women. They get mad at each other and call a PREA on each other, but that has pretty much stopped.
Good.
So we went through that, and at one point there were 3 women guards that were completely harassing her. I mean, every time they walked by her, they called her names, they threatened her. They were just awful. And so whenever anything happens, if Sadie can deal with it herself, which usually she can because she's very smart, she'll deal with it herself. But if it comes to a point where she doesn't know what to do, then she'll get a hold of me, and then I'll, deal with the warden and Callie and that sort of thing. So as it turned out, I was just getting ready to talk to the warden and email Tallahassee, and she got moved from the annex to the main, so that was good. And then another time a guard threatened her, said that he was going to lie and have her put in jail, and every day he'd say, I'm putting you in jail today, I'm putting you in jail today. So I did call the Inspector General, and they actually came down the next day and interviewed Sadie and some other inmates, and that guy he either got fired or moved, I don't know, but she's never seen him again. So in a way, my advocacy has worked. I think at this point it almost protects her because, DLC has been to my website. I'm pretty sure they know what I'm doing.
Right.
And so I feel, and Sadie feels, that in a way it's a protection for her. So
yeah, it is. And, I know that you have taken other girls under your wing as well, which I feel like is important because there's so many inmates in there that don't have no protection or anybody to call on their behalf that are in there.
Exactly. And that's the worst part is, Sadie has me, and, I help the other women. Sadie will call me and say, can you call so-and-so's lawyer? Can you call their family? So I do a lot of that. Right. But then when you think of indigent inmates who have no one and nothing, I mean, they have no commissary money, they never get packages, they're not going to be able to get these tablets that are coming out. That's just the saddest thing to me because, and I was emailing the warden about the tablets. So, I was just saying, I hope you're not using the tablets to replace meaningful rehab programs.
Right.
And she emailed back, they're going to have different educational things on there. And then I emailed her back and said, well, what about the indigent inmates? So what happens to them? It's not their fault they don't have money to, get a tablet. So where's the programs for them? And, of course, she never answered me back, but,
of course,
and I think that is what they're doing is they're thinking that these tablets are going to shut everybody up and everybody's going to be happy and they don't have to have any programs because they've already cut out most of the programs.
That's just crazy because it's supposed to be a place to make them a better person and teach them to be a better person, especially when returning to society. And all it does is teach them frustration and anger. They don't have, the programs in store, and then they wonder why so many people come back. Exactly. So these tablets, if they put educational programs on these tablets just to get rid of the very few that are in the system that they have an option of taking, then the indigent people will have absolutely nothing to do. Exactly.
Yeah. So I'll probably be doing a fundraiser for tablets for indigent people when they come out.
Yeah, I definitely share it too. I know that you are in contact with a lot of the inmates that are indigent. You have like their names and stuff so that we can do it directly to where they're not just taking the money DOC.
Right, exactly. And what I have done is every time packages come around when Sadie was first in there, it was 4 times a year. And I did fundraisers, and my family helped, and we would get some packages for indigent women. And now it's twice a year, and I think the last fundraiser, I never raise a lot of money, but, help enough to help some people. So I think this last one, we were able to send, I think, 7 women $50 packages so they could have toiletries and coffee and things like that. Awesome. Now we have heard that the rumor in the prison is anyway that the package system is no longer. So I haven't heard any final on that or what's going on with that. I've called Access and Union, and they don't know either. So we'll see what happens. But then I'll do another.
I definitely wouldn't send anything in until we confirm exactly what's going on, because they're just so corrupt in there. They'd probably take it, just like the water that was donated to them from, was it Red Cross? The water donated to the inmates when they had no clean water, and they took that water and sold it on Canteen for profit and left many girls without any clean water, especially the indigent girls. It's just, okay, we can't have clean drinking water because and it was given to them free. So if they get rid of the boxes and somebody sends them in, they probably just go through it, keep what they want, because that's just how it is. And it's terrible. So I would definitely, figure out exactly the rules. And do they give receipts for the boxes?
So the packages, I don't know if there were the package program when you were there, but the packages, there's 2 companies that you can order from, and you can order toiletries, you can order some food, coffee, sunglasses, radios, not MP3 players, but the earbuds for the players, all kinds of different things. So you can order those twice a year, and the box of stuff gets sent to the inmate at DOC, and they receive it, and so it's really kind of a cool thing. They look forward to it. But again, the indigent inmates, it's like everybody gets Christmas but you.
Right. So I'm thinking maybe me and you can put together a program to kind of adopt an inmate.
Right. Now, I do on my website. I have a website. It's called www.inmateslivesmatter.net. And I do have a piece in there about adopting an inmate and getting an inmate adoption certificate that I send to the person that adopts the inmate, and then I send a copy to the inmate. So there's that. But
can you repeat that again for anybody that wants to adopt an inmate and send them a box?
I'm sorry.
Can you repeat the website?
Oh, yeah, the website. So it's www.inmateslivesmatter.net. Okay. And so also on there, the indigent women always need toiletries, and the only way they get toiletries is through donations. So I think DOC gives them a little hotel bar of soap, a little tube of toothpaste, and a toothbrush. And the rest they're dependent on donations. So they always need toiletry donations. We've gone to Dollar Tree and, gotten a whole bunch of soaps and lotions and shampoos and taken them up to the prison. But that's just they just need those because that's what they rely on.
Yeah, I know that when I was incarcerated, they had an indigency package, but you could only put in for indigency packet after a certain amount of time of receiving one. And it was just insane the amount of time you had to wait in order to get a package again, and you had to rely on what they supplied you with themselves, which is very inadequate. So the donations are very important.
Yes, definitely. The other thing that I want to mention also that's on the website is myself and Jen Shelley. Jen Shelley got on board with me as an advocate a few months ago. She's a former federal public defender. And anyway, so we started a petition to stop the strip searches of women in prison in Florida. And so if everybody would like to go to the website and click on the link to the petition, that would be wonderful. And it may not go anywhere. We're just going to keep going with it, but at least it lets DOC know that we're watching and that we care about the women. And, just think about it. Squat, cough, and spread, or however that goes. How demeaning and humiliating is that? Especially when your family's coming to visit you, and you have to do that before visit, which why I don't know, and then after visit, and it's just.
Well, I know after the visit they do it to make sure that they're not bringing in any contraband. But what could they possibly bring you from inside the prison?
Right.
And then if they have to use the bathroom at any time, they have to go through the whole process again, and it's just ludicrous. But they're making everything so much harder for the visitors.
Exactly. And when you think about it, it's really a barbaric thing to do to women. And, 60% of women in prison have been sexually abused. So, that's just re-traumatizing them. And it's just wrong. When we have body scanners. In this day and age, we have body scanners. You can get a body scanner, and that will solve the whole contraband problem, and the guards can go through it, the visitors can go through it, inmates can go through it, problem solved.
Yeah.
So that's what the petition is about.
So I encourage any listeners to visit the website and try to adopt an inmate and sign the petition. Like she said, it might not go anywhere, but we don't know unless we try. So if you can add your signature to that, that would be amazing, and I would really appreciate it. I did want to speak on the visitation too. With they're really trying to discourage people from coming to visit their loved ones there, and trying to make it as hard as possible just to communicate with them. And I think it's because that's the only means of communication that they have where they can be completely open.
Right,
They can't be open on the phone or mail because it's all monitored, so they can never really tell you what's going on without retaliation.
Exactly. Now, with the mail, Sadie did a whole blog. There's a link to the blog on my website. We did a whole blog for over a year through the mail, and nothing ever got pulled. So, but now they're taking the women's mail and photocopying it and giving them the photocopy. Now, they say it's, for contraband and all this other sort of thing, but I think, now they're reading them, and they know word's getting out about the abuse that's going on, and so, they're just trying to put a stop to all of that. It's amazing to me that there's absolutely no oversight. This is why the prison system gets away with what it does. There's no oversight whatsoever for DOC. There's nothing. There's no civilians that go in and make sure everything's, as it should be. So it's all behind closed doors and behind the walls, as your program says.
Behind the walls. And there's no media coverage on anything that happens in there. People are killing inmates, and they're not getting charged with murder. The most that would happen to them is they lose their job. It's murder. Right. But just because it's an inmate, they don't matter. It doesn't get the media coverage.
Exactly.
And if it does happen to get any media coverage, it's to a small group that will forget about it, and it just gets pushed under the bridge, under the carpet, so to say. Yeah. And that's sad, because you have a lot of people in there on minor crimes and they didn't get a death sentence. But
Right.
going in there, you fight for your life.
Yep, exactly. There's been so many women that have died especially at Lowell that I know of. Mm-hmm. And recently, a young woman named Elise Rolnick died. And I'm not going to go into what I've heard.
Right.
But it's under investigation. She should never have died. She was a young woman. She was getting ready to get out. And, things like that happen all the time. And we never hear about it. There's never, they don't have obituaries or memorials or, right. It's just lost.
Yeah, my best friend died inside, and they just shipped her body to a state that she has no family, no loved ones. She has no tombstone, and it's like she's just still a number.
Exactly.
It's sad. And, we can get into the medical there at this point because a lot of deaths occur because of how terrible the medical is.
Yes, medical neglect. So on and you know this, Don, from being in Prison Stories, but so on my website, I post videos of video stories of the formerly incarcerated and their families, and most of the stories are about medical neglect that they experienced. And I know for Sadie, our experience, Sadie had atrial fib. She was having really bad heart issues, and she would go to medical, and they would do, monitor her heart with an EKG, and they would all be abnormal. And nothing would get done. They would just send her away. And so, I'd advocate to get her to a cardiologist for a really long time. I mean, it felt like it took forever, and it was getting worse and worse. And she finally went to a cardiologist at Butler. He put her on a medication that didn't do anything. And then, she couldn't go back to a cardiologist like for another 6 months or something like that. And it was just, never ending. And this is interesting. So when she first started having atrial fib and heart palpitations, she went to Dr. Rodriguez, I believe his name is, and so she had an abnormal EKG. The nurse went in to tell the doctor. He did not even come out and listen to her heart. He told the nurse to tell Sadie that she was drinking too much water.
Drinking too much water.
Much water. And then the next time she went in with a medical emergency with her heart, he told her, and he was rude to her, he told her that she was drinking too much coffee.
Oh.
And this is a doctor.
Right.
Like,
which, with my time in there and hearing the stories, especially some of the stories on your Facebook page of the girls sharing, a lot of it is medical, and a lot of those girls would have died had they not had an advocate on the outside call to ensure that they were seen properly. And the people in there that don't have anybody to call, again, an advocate for them on the outside, they have nobody calling, and they just don't care. And a lot of people are dying because of the poor medical.
Exactly.
And then it's sad that the female prisons here, inmates in all the prisons here in Florida, when they do have a serious medical condition, it gets treated, they send them to a male prison.
Right. Right. Yeah, you're speaking of Butler, right?
Yeah, Lake Butler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is a male prison. They send them there to get the medical treatment, but you're still in a prison location, of course. I mean, to get to a hospital to get real medical care is nearly impossible unless you're giving birth.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yep, it's pretty bad.
And speaking of giving birth, a lot of inmates have years and yet they're pregnant, and no one's batting an eye at how that happened.
Immaculate conception, right?
Right. So many Virgin Marys. It's
Well, what I'd really like to find out, and I wish somebody would investigate, is what's going on with the adoptions, the lawyers, the adoptions, the girls that are pregnant? From my understanding, these lawyers prey on inmates that are pregnant, looking for babies for people that want to adopt, and that, they say that, they put money on their account, they give them a chunk of money when they get out, because, if they don't have family to give that baby to,
right,
what are they going to do? But it's kind of a hush-hush thing, and I've heard a little bit about it, but I sure would like to know more about it. There was my daughter, her friend had me call the lawyer, the adoption lawyer, because she wanted to tell her that they had done a test and the baby might possibly have Downs. So I called the adoption lawyer, and, of course she was upset about that, but
right.
I'm thinking, I wonder,
they want a perfect baby to make money off of.
Yeah, you just wonder what's going on with all of that behind the scenes. In Washington State, and I think a couple other states, I don't know the exact how many, but I know Washington for sure. I'm from Washington. They have, when you have a baby, they have a nursery dorm. So when you have a baby, you get to keep your baby for 3 years. And, and be with that child. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, it's that I have to relate it to a television show, but there's a prison series called Wentworth, and it's like Orange is the New Black, but like hardcore. And there was a lady in there that had her baby with her after she had the baby, and I was like, wow, like that would never happen here in the States, but I guess I am wrong. It does happen.
Yes, and there are some prisons that are pretty progressive on the West Coast. So that's the one that I definitely know of, that they get to keep their babies for 3 years. Now, whether, that's for people, long-timers or lifers, probably not. But, for people that have a shorter prison sentence, they're probably doing that for them. But, we need to do more of that.
Yeah, I don't see if somebody had life for 20 years where the baby would actually be an adult before they're released, that they would allow them to have that luxury. Right,
exactly. I think the saddest thing about the whole situation that, it's just, we have to think about who we are as human beings and who we want to be as human beings. I mean, are we human beings that have empathy and compassion and forgiveness for, people that make mistakes in life,
right?
Or are we people that want to condemn and judge and, lock them up and throw away the key? And I mean, that's what was surprising to me, is the attitude of people that have never been involved in the criminal justice system, and just it's just some of the things they say are so cruel, like, oh, they shouldn't have good food, or, they should treat them like crap, and
which is the majority.
Really,
a lot of people, they have the mind frame of, oh, well, they're a criminal. Who cares about their life?
Yeah, until it happens to you.
Right. Until they have to become part of the system, or somebody close enough to them that they love becomes part of that system, they do not care. And, there might be some people out there that genuinely would care, have the media cover exactly what's going on inside. But it's so covered up that the majority of the people don't even really know what's occurring.
Right, exactly. So which is what I'm, in my little small way, am trying to do with the video stories, is to have, I feel like the videos are really powerful, because people are telling their story of their experience incarcerated. And I want the public to see those, and to see that, these people are no different than your daughter or your mother or your sister. They just made mistakes. And
it's true that there are some crimes differ from the other. And there are some people that have committed heinous crimes. that, deserve to be in there, but the system needs to be a system that works and not one of corruption still.
Right, exactly. I mean, Sadie's told me, stories of some of the women that have killed their children and things like that. But they still need to be treated like human beings. I mean, it doesn't excuse any, abuse by the guards or the system. I mean, they're still human beings. And to me, if you kill somebody or you do something like that, you're obviously mentally ill, or you were mentally ill for a minute, because that's not in our nature. We weren't born like that. Babies are born, innocent and good, and so something happens, and they still need to be treated like a human being, no matter what.
To maintain being a real system and giving people correction and rehabilitation, no matter your sentence or your crime.
Exactly. And look at all these women when you see on the video stories. Look at all of them. I mean, almost all of them, well, all of them, I think, come out with PTSD. Yeah. Years later, they're still coping with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just so wrong. So, you go to prison, you're already a broken person because you're probably a drug addict, or, which my daughter was, or, you had a horrible upbringing or something, so you go there broken, and then they just break you some more. But then they expect you to go out and do well.
Right.
It's like, we're going to treat you like crap and make you feel like, you're not worth anything. And I know the guards have said that to women, you're not worth anything. But now we want you to come out and do well.
Right. Their favorite line when you leave, if you make it to your EOS date, which EOS is end of sentence, if you make it to your EOS date, as you're leaving, their favorite line to say is, "I'll see you when you come back."
Oh my God! How encouraging is that? Oh my God.
And you have to think, most of the people that don't have anybody out here, if you give them $100 in a bus ticket, what do you expect them to do? To build a life off $100 in a bus ticket?
I don't even think it's $100. I think it's $50, but I'm not
really?
Sure.
They lowered it. When I left, it was $100 in a bus ticket. And that's
I don't
only if you had less than $100 in your canteen commissary account for the last 60 days of your stay. If you were there 60 days and someone sends you $20, then you lose the $100.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's down to 50 now. But yeah, think about it. So, say you're in prison, and in prison your mother, who was your advocate, dies, right? That was your only living relative, dies, and so I'm remembering one of the stories on the video stories by Jennifer, and she was in that situation, and they were supposed to give her clothes, when she got out. So she said, they gave me clothes, but the shoes were too small, the pants were too big, and the blouse didn't match anything, and gave me a bus ticket. And so where do you go? So you go to Salvation Army, and, what do you do? I mean, I can't even imagine, and it's no wonder that people go back.
Right. I mean, you're pretty much giving them $50 in an outfit that doesn't fit. So they're pretty much homeless upon release if they have nobody.
Right. Exactly.
And then you look at our homeless population that we have in America. How many of them do you think were just released from prison with nowhere to go?
Exactly.
And then the vets that come back that we treat like, are unimportant. You combine the two, and then you wonder why we have a homeless crisis. We don't take care of our own people. Right.
I was reading something the other day that we've been downgraded to, what is it, a third world country or something, or a second world country because of our homeless population. So.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, there's a lot to fix, but if you fix with the inside first, and you fix the inside of the Department of Corrections, you get correctional officers that are abusive and have that arrogant attitude of authority out of there and put people in that really care, it would make a world of difference.
It would make a world of difference. And there are guards in there that care, but they still have that, what do they call that with police, where they don't tell on each other?
The blue code.
Yeah, so they have that in there. So a good officer might see a bad officer doing something, but they never call out each other.
They turn an eye, which in my opinion, my personal opinion, is if you can turn an eye to that behavior, you're no better than the officer doing it.
Right, exactly. But I mean, part of the problem with the officers is, these are people that have a hard time. Well, there was one kid, he must have been 18 or 19 when I went to visitation once. Just, he just looked lost. And I talked to him and I said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "What did you used to do?" And he said, "I used to work for Verizon or something." And I said, "Well, what are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, I went to the unemployment office and they told me that I had to fill out an application for DOC first. Like that was a requirement." And so he didn't last very long because I'm sure he was appalled. But a
young officer that came in when we were in there, and I was actually a youthful offender. And they had hired an officer that was younger than most of the youthful offenders in there. And I remember he was walking through the dorm, and he got this real arrogant attitude all of a sudden, and he told me to put my book down. It was lights out and go to bed. And I was pretty smart aleck mouth back then, and I told him to respect his elders. And I was his first DR, disciplinary report. But they threw it out because, I always just try to make light of every situation and make jokes. But they knew me because I had been there for so long. But they hire anybody. They had the one guard that Sergeant, or was it Lieutenant Q?
Yes.
He had prior convictions.
Right, yeah. Well, I think now from what I understand, now you can have a misdemeanor and get hired. So, which, probably is pretty much anywhere. But, the main problem is they don't, if they paid people more, they would get a better quality of person. These are people that probably have a hard time getting a job at Walmart, and some of them are really good. I'm not saying that they're all like that, but, they need to pay them more. They need to pay them so they, feel good about being at their job and, and train them better to have respect and treat the inmates with dignity and respect and not, have that attitude that they're less than and, they don't deserve anything, and we can get away with abusing them because nobody's going to do anything.
Right, and nobody has for forever.
Forever,
So
exactly.
They don't think that the punishment's going to come, and they see the record of we can do whatever we want to these inmates and nothing's going to happen to us, so we can treat them any kind of way we want to. So they do.
Right, exactly. I've written to the warden so many times complaining about, not just, people that have messed with my daughter, but, guards that have messed with other women, and and they always lie. Yeah. So, and that's what the warden will come back and tell me. She'll say, well, inmates lie.
Right. Right. And so much happens that's not talked about, and we're trying to find proof on the chaplain now. But we know what's going on, and they cover it up or they just stay silent. They have this code of silence. Yes.
And I know that, Julie Brown has probably called the prison and tried to find out about the chaplain, and because I know she called about Elise Rolnick, her death, and they won't give her any information, and so the media can never get anywhere, to raise awareness for what's going on. And with this chaplain, allegedly he has been having, he I think he's been there at Lowell since 2013, and allegedly he's been having sex with the inmates. He got walked off the compound the other day, not charged with anything. I mean, right. He's just going to go on and, be a chaplain somewhere else and probably right. do the same thing.
And then the victim has to learn a whole new way of life in a new prison.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, and then it's like once like Julie Brown calls in to get information, as soon as she introduces herself as a reporter, their guards go up and they have nothing left to say. So, the real stories and information from the inside come from the inmates in there. And
right.
it's, given to advocates like yourself and other advocates out there and parents and loved ones get the information that the media should be getting.
Right, exactly. I noticed the Florida Times-Union, they've been pretty good about doing, what they can. I mean, they came out with the one about visitation, and they've covered a little bit of, what's been going on, but not the major stuff.
Right. Like that code of silence, and then like you said, they automatically say, well, they're liars. Inmates are liars. Inmates are bad people. And, with the media, they feed on that. Like if there's, somebody that, in the media that is in trouble for something, instead of getting a picture of them at like a family barbecue, the first thing they do to discredit him is put up a picture of him as an inmate or a booking picture.
Right,
so
exactly.
It gives the public the idea of, okay, well, he's a bad person. And it could have been just driving on a suspended license or, something, and he spent one night in jail. But they will use that booking picture to discredit his credibility 100% with the population. So with them saying, inmates are liars, no, you're not going to get, it's like the tin can. When you tell one story and it tells another, if you have 100, 200 different inmates saying the same story, there's some validity to it.
Right, exactly. But I did want to mention that when my website was, I had to pay for it again, I think in October. And by that time, I'd been advocating for a while and felt like, I just couldn't get people on board. I couldn't get families on board. I was feeling really, really discouraged and about ready to give up, except for, helping my daughter and the women at Lowell, to some degree. But it's like, God, I can't give up. So I thought, how can I help raise awareness about what's going on, in the prison? And so I thought, that's when I came up with the video story. So what if I had a group, where the former inmates and their families told their video story, and then I could post it on my website. And so the Facebook group, Prison Stories, has only been up since October. So, and I feel like it's going pretty well.
It is.
And the videos that I've posted on my website, for a long time, my website, 300-400, maybe 500 people a month. So now, since I put on the video stories, I think this month there's going to be 1,500 people that have gone to the website and hopefully watched the videos. I mean, that doesn't seem like a lot, but for a little website, just advocating for women, I mean, I think that's pretty good.
It's incredible.
So I hope more and more, and I know media have been on the website because you can kind of see where people are coming from, and so that's my hope that these video stories are, going to help raise awareness. Jan Shelley and I, the former public defender, we've already done, I think, 3 public venues where she does the statistics, about the women in prison, and we talk about strip searches and what they go through. But my goal is to keep doing the public venues and then to show one of the videos. to raise awareness. So that's kind of our next goal.
I think, anything that you can do to share and make people aware is amazing. It's when we lay down and be quiet that we allow it to occur. And,
right, exactly.
I'm hoping that, my podcast can do the same thing with the Behind the Wall story and, be able to let people's voices be heard, because this situation has been horrible for many families, and there's been, and there's even innocent people in prison, and people will be like, yeah, right. No, there's innocent projects that have gotten many innocent people off, and some innocent people have sat for years and lost their life because our system is so broken.
Right.
So even if it, you feel a certain way as a person that, you do the crime, you do the time. Okay, you can have that mentality, but what about that one person or two people that are in there that didn't do the crime? Can you be an advocate for them?
Right, exactly. And that's what you hear all the time. If you can't do the time, don't do the crime. How about have the time, reflect the crime? I mean, right. Everyone's so over-sentenced. I mean, right. It's ridiculous.
Right. And, if you're poor out here and you get stuck in this judicial system as a poor person, you're screwed.
Oh, definitely.
If you have to, you will get sentenced way above the guideline just because you don't have accurate representation. So right. If you don't have money, and again, it comes down to, the wealth. If you're a poor person in this system, you're not off to a good start at all.
Right.
And with you being in contact with the girls, are there any new jobs in the system that they're currently working on, like new job projects?
No, in fact, they've cut some of them out. So the only thing that's really left is they still have cosmetology. They cut out, I don't know what it was called, but it was making crafts like for children or something like that. That one's gone. HVAC is gone. Culinary was gone, but according to Rydell, the regional director, he told me that they had just hired another culinary teacher. But the only two jobs in Lowell that get paid are canteen, which my daughter works canteen. Mm-hmm. She probably works 60 hours a week. She gets paid $50 a month. Mm-hmm. And then the Pride people who make the uniforms, and I believe they get paid $60 a month. But mm-hmm. Other than that, grounds people, cooks, orderlies, nobody gets paid.
Right.
So if you don't get paid, when you get out, that's what I mean. It's like a catch-22. So you're working in prison, but you're not getting paid. And so you have nothing when you get out to start,
right.
your life with.
Well, there's so many corporations out here that have used inmates to work for their company for free. And, there's people out here in the world that complain that they can't get a job. But then, Starbucks had inmates making their cups. And
really?
Yes, and Victoria's Secrets had inmates making their lingerie.
Oh, I did not know that.
And Walmart. Yeah, Walmart had a few. I have a list I'm going to share. I was going to do an episode on it. How they use the inmates as it's the new form of slavery, and these people work for free for corporations. And when you buy from these corporations, it's like you're endorsing that, and many people do it without knowing.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know that. I did not know that.
And then, of course, when, it's brought to light, like Victoria's Secrets, when inmates were making their lingerie for free, and then they're turning around and selling it for $30, $40 while these inmates go without a bar of soap. And when it was brought to light, of course, they stopped using the inmates because, it was brought to light. But had it not been brought to light, they would have, of course, kept using the inmates to keep that steady profit in the corporation.
Right. That's so unethical. That just doesn't even sound that a corporation would even do that. And then, and like Victoria's Secret, they charge so much money for their...
Right. I'll send you the list after we get off the
yeah, I'd like to see that, because I go to Starbucks a lot. So.
Yeah. they had inmates making their cups.
Wow.
For Starbucks, and so but of course the inmate could never get a cup of Starbucks coffee as a form of payment. So it's crazy.
It is crazy. So I wanted to ask you, because I'm curious, and what inspired you to do this program?
Just because I was there, and I seen so much inside that was wrong. And, when you walk away from that, it's like mixed emotions, because you really do meet some of the closest people you'll ever meet in your life while you're in there, because you share the worst. And, you like bring each other light. And some of the best friends that I've met on the inside. And, when that EOS date comes, you have to leave them in such a dark place. And just knowing that there's so many other inmates in there that are dealing with what I had to deal with every day, and I just sit here quiet, then who am I helping? I can't forget where I came from.
Right.
So hearing other stories of, what women went through, like I said, my best friend got killed in there. And that hurts me all the time. And then, I've seen people killed by officers. I've seen people die because of poor medical. I've seen people with charges that they're just amazing people that could have so much to offer the world, yet they have to sit in this cage for 25 years for making one mistake.
Right.
And they're just amazing people. And, so talented. Like, there's so much talent in there, and sadly they can't use that talent except for inside because of a mistake that they made. And I think about these faces and these stories and these voices, and they're silent. They're speaking and they're screaming out, but they can't be heard because it's being prevented. No, it's either they don't want to hear their story because they're a criminal, or they don't have an advocate to let their story be heard. So I want to just, give them an outlet and just say what I know, and then let anybody come in, whether you've been an inmate, whether you love somebody that is an inmate, or whether, you've worked within the system and you want to speak out, to just let that be heard, because the media can't do it.
Right. Well, they could do it if they had access.
Right.
I mean, I know when, did you ever see the expose that Julie Brown did in 2015 on Lowell?
No.
So the link to it is on my website. She did this really good expose of Lowell called Beyond Punishment. Mm-hmm. And she was able to, there were 2 interviews of women that were currently incarcerated. I mean, it was the expose was really good. And I know, I talked to a lot of people and they've never seen it. So if you've never seen it, the link to it is called Beyond Punishment, is on my website. But I would think after her expose that everybody just would have been outraged about what's going on. But nothing, right. And that's what's surprising to me, is that here we are, we think we're really progressive people, and we're, the United States, and, we're Christian, and we think that, we have forgiveness and empathy and compassion, but how come, where's the outrage? That's what I don't get. Where's the outrage? These people are in prison being abused and tormented, and these are somebody's sister or mother or daughter or friend, and and nobody cares. Nobody's doing anything.
Right.
And that's really hard for me to understand because
we're
all in this ship.
The out of sight, out of mind theory. And if it doesn't affect them, then they don't have the time to pay it any attention.
Right, which is why you and I are going to do everything we can to raise awareness so they start paying attention because their tax dollars are paying. If your tax dollars are paying for abuse and people being tormented and medically neglected, then you're complicit. I'm sorry, but you're complicit.
Right.
In that. So, everybody needs to wake up.
Yeah. I agree. And we got to make some noise and create some chaos.
Yeah, the good thing is, there's lots of groups now advocating, and hopefully, it's kind of like everybody has their own little thing going on. At some point, I hope that everybody can come together and, just be one really loud voice about what's going on. And I think that will happen eventually. I really do.
You have to support each other and work together when you're advocating for the same thing, and I just feel like that's so important.
Exactly. But
I did pull up the thing, and I'll give you some of the, like, Whole Foods. Whole Foods.
Whole Foods. I shop at Whole Foods.
Mm-hmm. Whole Foods. It says that $12 a pound tilapia you thought you were buying from a sustainable American family farm. It was raised by prisoners in Colorado. They were paid 74 cents a day. And that fancy goat cheese, the goats were raised and milked by prisoners too.
Wow.
So Whole Foods is one that has used inmates. McDonald's. McDonald's used inmates for plastic cutlery, containers, and uniforms.
Wow, that just astounds me.
It is, right? Most people have no idea. Walmart. Walmart has
these are billion dollar companies that can definitely afford to hire people to do that. Instead, they're going to be greedy and have inmates do it and then barely either pay them nothing or pay them barely anything.
They hardly pay their employees. Most of the employees that they have are on welfare, and they're using inmates as well. And they're billion-dollar companies, McDonald's and Walmart.
God, that's crazy.
And we just sit back and we allow them to do it, and it's insane. In Walmart, what's crazy is their company policy clearly states forced or prison labor will not be tolerated by Walmart.
And yet they're doing it.
Exactly. But then it goes on and says, basically every item in their store has been supplied by third-party prison labor factories. Walmart purchased its produce from prison farms, where laborers are often subjected to long hours in the blazing heat without adequate food or water.
Wow.
So, and then it says Victoria's Secret, that was South Carolina. AT&T had used inmates. They actually had, in the 1993, I don't know if you remember, they had the massive layoff of thousands of telephone operators.
Right.
In order to increase their profits. And they have consistently used inmates to work in their call centers, paying them barely $2 a day since 1993.
Oh, okay. I think that just reminded me of something. My friend has a husband in prison in Oregon, and he works for the he does the for the DMV.
Yeah. Yes.
I never put those. Two, I don't know how much he gets paid, but I always wondered, like, how does he do that? Like, how does he work for the DMV in prison?
Yeah. BP.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Right. They use inmate labor to do the oil cleanup.
Wow.
But then charge so many taxes. But big names, Bank of America.
Oh, that's my bank. Oh, God.
Caterpillar, Chevron, Chrysler, Costco, John Deere, ExxonMobil, Johnson & Johnson, Kmart, Koch Industries, Microsoft, Motorola, Nintendo, Pepsi, Shell, Starbucks, UPS, Wendy's. So there's so many corporations.
That's amazing. That is absolutely astounding to me.
It's insane. And how many places, I mean, do people shop at these places all the time? And, you know, like you said, we have a hard time being advocates for something that, you know, people don't care about unless it affects them. So, I mean, I could put this out as, you know, general information, and they won't care. They're still going to shop. These corporations are still going to, you know, be at the top of the wealth board. And but, you know, for the people that do care, we can, you know, make some kind of noise to where it affects something.
Right. Well, didn't you say Victoria's Secret stopped doing it because they got called on the carpet for it, or?
Right. Yeah.
So it can make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, it
can make a difference.
It can. So that's why I asked you if there was any new job assignments that, you know, had popped up inside the prison, and I try to keep an eye out for what they're doing and who it could be for. Like if they're making and just like, you know, the DMV, you said he was working for the DMV, and you know, it's an old-time joke that when you go to prison you make license plates.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But they charge you $400 for a license plate.
Right. Well, no wonder they want to get more and more people in prison. They need them to work.
Yeah, and you know, that's why they make drugs such a high offense. You know, like marijuana, and it was intentional. You know, they started the whole war on drugs right after the Civil War to create a whole new form of slavery. That
right. Yeah, I watched. Yeah, have you watched 13th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that.
And it's true.
And everybody should watch that. Everybody, because that's an eye-opener right there.
I definitely recommend watching the documentary 13th, based on the 13th Amendment. But and then you know it's true, especially, you know, here in Florida, when they start speaking about CCA, and the private making prisons private for profit.
Right.
They turned, I think Gadsden turned to CCA while I was in there.
Oh, yeah, a private prison. You know what I was thinking the other day? I'd really like to know, all the higher-ups in Tallahassee, I'd really like to know where they've invested their money, like what stocks they own, if they're prison stocks or, you know, Trinity stocks, Securus stocks, JPay stocks.
It'd be interesting to, you know, dig and find the trail to where everything's connected.
Yep.
I definitely want to. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some kind of retaliation in my search, but it doesn't deter me from doing it.
Right.
So, but it's absolutely crazy inside, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing with everybody. Is there anything else that you want to tell them before we close up?
Just everybody advocate, everybody become aware, and do whatever they can do to help the people left behind inside.
Yeah, it's important.
And have some compassion, some empathy.
Empathy is rare, but we're still going to ask for it.
Yes, we're still going to ask for it. Because, you know, the thing is, with our laws today, everybody's one mistake away from being in the criminal justice system.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. So, you know.
And, you know, you can put some comedy to it, too, which, you know, on my lives on Saturday I attempt to do. But Monica has a comedy show that It's called I Could Have Been Your Cellmate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend watching that too. It's pretty funny. So.
Okay.
But that's it. I'm going to close up. Thanks everybody for listening. Please check out Kathy's websites that she shared with you. Try to adopt an inmate, sign the petition.